Can I ask you what the Benn family is saying? what are you saying?
Well, my parents are still talking to me.
They are still. But what would your granddad? You know, Tony Benn was a great supporter and a great colleague and friend of Jeremy Corbyn. You know, respected him as a backbench MP. Do you feel in a position to say what your grandfather would be thinking today about him?
Well, I mean, I miss my grandfather. I wish he was still around to be able to have his own say. But you know, I was very lucky in that my grandfather and I disagreed on a lot. When he was alive, we would argue. I was a parliamentary candidate. He knew that he had differences with me, but he still came to support me, which was very kind. But his message was always be free and fair in your opinions. Never get personal, which is something I always take on board. But
would he criticise Jeremy Corbyn, do you think, for his leadership? And is the Benn family itself doing that?
I actually have no idea. He was often very critical of Labour leaders in the past, so perhaps he would have continued that trait. But, you know, you don't have to agree with everyone and everything, and that doesn't make you, you know, not Labour, as I said. I had difficulties with him under previous Labour leaders, but I think what he would have said was, say what you mean and mean what you say.
So what should Jeremy Corbyn do in terms of sorting this out? Because it feels like he's apologised and apologised and apologised, and yet still people aren't taking it on board. There's no cohesion. The actual anti-Semitic claims can't even be addressed because the definition's not yet been decided of what is anti-Semitic within the party.
Well,
so
quite.
It's very difficult.
Well, the definition, I don't understand why that's... If it's acceptable for pretty much every other body in the entire country and kind of almost amazing unanimity of opinion that it needs to be agreed quickly, I don't know why that's not being done. You know, a lot about leadership is taking on people who are doing things in your name and telling your supporters things they don't want to hear, and that is more needed than ever now.
And just to make the link clear, you've said that you've been described as a sort of vampire by colleagues in the Labour Party for having worked for a corporation, for having worked for, you know, a capitalist corporate. We all live in a capitalist society, you know. So, but what? And that's linked, isn't it, to the anti-Semitic argument?
I mean, maybe
not arguments. It's to the insult.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, maybe I'm so out of date with today's times. But I also think that getting knowledge and experience of different corporations is very important. And just because you have problems with an industry, as I did with banking, which I worked in, doesn't mean just because I work there I agree with everything that happens.
But you get vilified by...
I mean, you get completely vilified, which I just think is completely misguided and quite stupid, really. But
I know. I'm very sad for you. But when you say that, you know, he needs to address the people that are doing things in his name, are you specifically talking about members of Momentum and members of the hard left of the Labour Party who got him to the position of being leader, amongst many others who voted for him, of course, because he had a huge number of votes within the party? Are you specifically saying he needs to turn around and say, that was then, this is now, we have to move forward?
Yeah, and anyone that's doing this really go after... It's not difficult to see it on Twitter, and it's not difficult to see the type of people that it's...
So why doesn't he? Is he scared that he'll lose his support?
I'm afraid I have no idea. But in order to be a convincing next Prime Minister of the country and lead the next government of the country, you cannot do it while this is hanging over you.
Is he fit to be Prime Minister?
I have voted Labour while he's been the leader of the Labour Party, and I want everyone to be in a position to feel that they can. But, you know, I had a very good Jewish friend of mine who was a member of the Labour Party contact me last night to say he had left because he feels like he can't be a member. This is not a situation that can continue.